Hi everyone, thanks so much for coming back to my channel. This is Tina with Tina's Craft Creations. I'm on today with a little tutorial. Now most of you probably already know how to do wire wrapping, but I know there are some people that don't know how to do wire wrapping for beads. So I wanted to just do a quick tutorial so that way if you're learning, and I am still new at this as well, but if you're learning, then at least we can kind of learn together. So what you'll need is basically just a selection of beads. What I like to do when I'm wire wrapping is I'll put my seed beads in a little bowl so that way I have them readily available, and I just throw in like whatever colors I plan on using. And today I'm going to be using some of those Heishi beads that I got at Michael's. So I have some orange, some white, and some black, since I'll be doing some Halloween wire wrapping beads. And then I have a few containers of just different beads here on my desk. So I have these just sort of sorted into some like Halloween type colors. And then I also have another container which has like some candy corn and some orange beads, some little skulls, black and white, some green and purple. So yeah, just various beads. And then the last one I have also has some like star beads and some more black and white beads. So yeah, I have a nice little selection here, just kind of readily available on my desk. What you'll also need are some tools. So you'll need some little cutter tools, and then some of these, I think they're called, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Some like round head or nose head pliers. So I usually will use the round ones for the actual wire wrapping. And then I'll have another set to help with the wrapping itself. So you'll see what I mean when I get started. You'll also need some head pins and some eye pins. Now I do like using a selection of both. Now the difference between them is the head pins has like a little flat piece on the end, and the eye pins have a round piece on the end. So you can see that there. So that's the difference between those. So basically what you need to do is if you're using a head pin, which again has the flat piece on the bottom, you'll usually need to add a seed bead to it because most of the regular beads that we buy at the stores have holes that are too big. So I'll show you what I mean. So if you wanted to put this on here, obviously the hole is too big, so it'll slide right off, okay? Now if you're using an eye pin, that won't happen, but I like to use head pins so that I can incorporate my seed beads in as well. So we'll just do a few together, and if you have any questions, then obviously let me know. But like I said, I'm working on some Halloween wire wrapped beads, and yeah, I just thought it would be fun to do a little quick tutorial. So as you can see, the seed bead will keep your larger beads on the head pin. So what we'll do is just, like I said, a couple together, and I'll just show you how I do them. Now I've recently only started doing these myself, so bear with me as my wire wrapping is not perfect, and yeah, but it's really therapeutic actually. I can knock some of these out pretty quickly. So what you'll want to do is just load your pin with whatever beads that you'd like. And then you'll take your rounded pliers, okay? And then you put your pliers just right above the top bead that you have. And you just want to hold it tightly with your hand, and then you just bend the head pin or the pin to like a 90-degree angle, if you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, and then what you want to do is move your pliers, and you'll hold the pin and you'll put your plier right above the angle. I'm trying to do this at an angle. So see what I'm saying? Like you move your pliers, and then what you'll do is you want to hold this securely, and then with your fingers you can just bend your wire back again. So you're forming like a loop. And then you'll move your plier again and put it underneath that loop. So if I'm just turning this upside down so you can kind of see what I mean. And then what you'll want to do is move again your wire. You'll push it underneath to form another 90-degree angle. So then your bead will look like this, or your wire will look like this. And then what I do is I take my pliers and I'll put it back into the circle that I've created, okay? And you'll want to hold it pretty tightly again. And this is where, and I switch it to my left hand, okay? So you'll be holding it with the loop itself wrapped around the plier. And then you'll take your other pliers. And this is where you just grab your wire and you just start wrapping it around that little gap between the loop that you've created and the top bead that you have on your pin. So again, this is not going to look great initially when you first start out, and I am still learning quite a bit with wire wrapping. And I apologize, I'm off frame. It's a little difficult to do this on camera, but you'll want to just wrap your wire around until you either have nothing left. But if you do, then you can cut it off with your cutter. But this is what you're going to ultimately have when you get done. Now, obviously this is not perfect, but that's okay because these are handmade and they're just fun to make. So there's one. And then what I like to do is just have another little bowl readily available on my desk, and I just throw them in. So these are just some that I made before I started filming, just so you can see just like a selection of beads. So you can use all kinds of beads with your wire wrapping. There's one with a little star. So it's just really fun to do this. Now what I'm going to actually do now is just use some Heishi beads. Now I'm going to incorporate some seed beads with the Heishi beads just to kind of have a selection on my pin. So again, I'm going to use a head pin for this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do black and white. So this will be like a Beetlejuice. Okay, so again, you just load whatever you want onto your pin. And again, this is it's just fun to make these for your dangles. And yeah, I really enjoy making these. I can just sit down sometimes after work or when I just have a little bit of time to craft and do some wire wrapping, and yeah, and then it's really fun. So see, this is what this one will look like. So again, you take your round nosed pliers and you hold it above the top bead. Okay, and then you don't want to have too much of a gap, just a tiny little gap. And then you bend your wire to a 90-degree angle, and then you'll move your pliers right above to the other side of that angle, and then you'll bend your wire backwards. So you're forming the loop, and then again, you want it to look like that. And then you'll put your round nose pliers in between, and then you will take your hand again and you'll bend your wire backwards. So again, you're forming a loop, okay? And then you will put your round nose pliers again back into that circle that you've created. And then this is where you want to move your pliers to your left hand. And you'll take your other pliers and just start wrapping this, I'm trying to do this. Okay, so you see that wire sticking up right here? This is what you're going to do. You're going to take your other pliers and you will just wrap that wire around in that little gap. So that's where you get your wire wrapping. And usually you can get about 3 or so wraps before you hit your top bead. You don't want it to be too tight on there, but you also don't want there to be a massive gap either. So if you can get more times around, then that's great, but otherwise it's not a big deal. And then if you do have like a massive amount of wire left, you can clip that off with your cutters, or you can just pinch it tight on your wire wrapping. Now you just want to make sure you don't have any sharp edges, because obviously nobody wants to get cut when they're opening up a package with a dangle on it or something. So yeah, that is another little wire wrapped bead. Okay, we'll do maybe another 2. I'm going to use an eye pin this time so you can see the difference. Now with these, again, you don't necessarily have to use seed beads because that loop will keep larger beads from falling off. So for example, if you want to use, just do 1 bead on there by itself. So again, this is just by itself and it'll hold it on there because it has that loop at the end. So we'll just do this one without anything else on it. Okay, so again, you just want to hold it a little above the bead. Okay, bend the wire backwards and then move your pliers. Bend it backwards again. Okay, and that creates your loop. Move your plier into that loop. Bend your wire back again. And then again, it looks like that. Okay, put your loop or your plier back into the circle. Take your other pliers and then just start wrapping around the wire. Now this one, because there's only 1 bead on here, we're definitely going to have some extra wire here. So we'll cut that off with our cutters. So see that extra piece hanging off? You don't want that. You don't want to leave that on there, obviously. So we'll just take our cutter, and I'm going to cut that off camera. Okay, so whenever you cut it off, if there is if there's still a little piece of metal, you'll just want to take your other pliers again and push that into the wire wrapping so that it kind of forms into part of the wrapping that you've done. And this can be a little tricky if the wires are a little soft. And this is the first time I've played with these silver ones, and these seem to be a little softer than the ones I normally buy when I buy my gold ones. But you'll just want to kind of push that extra little piece of metal into the wire wrapping so it doesn't have like a sharp edge. So again, that's what it looks like with just 1. And then this right here, that's where your wire wrapping is. So you're wrapping around. And again, this isn't perfect. I am not, I'm not great at this, but I just think that these are really fun to make. Now we'll just do one more really quick. I'll do another eye pin. We'll do one with some little candy corns. So I am going to add a seed bead on here just to have a little extra color. But yeah, so these are really fun, and I just wanted to kind of get a jump start on my Halloween crafting. Okay, and I wasn't going to do a tutorial, but since I know a lot of people don't know how to do this, or people that are learning, I've only learned within the last few months, and I actually watched several tutorials before I sort of figured out what was going on. Now, obviously, the bigger the bead, the shorter your piece to wrap is going to be, but that's okay. As long as you can still get it around there a couple of times, that's really all that matters. So now, obviously, this is just if you want to do manual wire wrapping. There are tools that you can buy to create the wire wrapped look without the actual manual labor of it. I did buy that tool, but I find that I can't get it just right like I can with this. I know Janae over at Happy Mail Obsessed, she got us all onto that tool, and it is really nice to use, but I can't seem to figure it out as well as I'm able to just wire wrap it myself. So here is another one. All right, so that is my tutorial. If anyone has any questions, feel free to let me know. If you haven't already, I greatly appreciate if you'd consider subscribing. I hope everyone has a wonderful week, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.